Hey everybody, it's Tim hitting the beast of the marching arts. What a fun conversation this is going to be. We are going to wrap up the WGI Percussion for the season, and we're going to talk about some wins too. With me, my co-host tonight, Lara Sakazinski. How are you, Lara?
Hi, doing great. Tired from this past week, but feeling great.
Right, we're having this as a live event. Actually, we're actually recording this on Tuesday night, right after percussion weekend. So, if the percussionists on this, well, everybody that's on this might be a little bit draggy, and that's going to be perfectly okay because they just went through it last night. I did an event that Shane Qualtney from Music City Mystique was on, and he was clearly he had not had a lot of sleep, which is completely understandable. So sorry, Shane Qualtney, to mention that you looked rough, but anyway, it was fun to have him on that and everybody that's here. So let's say hi to everybody. I'll bring on Stephen McCarrick. Stephen from Rhythm X. How are you, Stephen?
Doing great, Tim, and I'm happy to be back on with you guys. Can talk through a little how the season went.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. And we have Zach Martins from Infinity Percussion. Zach, how are you?
What's up? I'm good. Recovering. It's been a long week.
Absolutely. And also here with us, Grantice Paranda. Grantice, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So before we actually get into the nitty gritty, listen, everybody, we are here just to geek out about percussion stuff. We're going to be showing some clips, a lot of clips that are like behind the scenes, on the floor at the finale, and the whole thing's going to be really fun. So stay tuned. If you're watching live, thank you for watching. Please put some comments. Let us know where you're watching. And if you have questions for this very smart group, please type those in the chat feature as well. Let's go back around. Everybody just sort of introduce yourself in case someone hasn't seen this before, or if you're new tonight. So Laura, just introduce yourself, sort of tell everybody what group you marched with, that kind of thing, and then we'll just go around from there.
Gotcha. So my name's Lara Sakazinski. I'm 22 years old. So this was my age out, and I marched with United Percussion. I've been with them since 2020, so it's been amazing to finally get a full in-person season with them.
Yeah, I can much say a lot of the same things here, except instead of 22 years old, I'm 24 years old. But I've been marching with Rhythm X since 2020. Prior to then, I was actually over at United too, so I love getting to talk about United. Look forward to talking about it more later on. But I play bass drum. I just staged out of Rhythm X, and I had probably the best season I could have asked for. So looking forward to talking about it.
Great. Zach?
Well, I'm 22. I'm also an age out. I play snare drum. I've been at Infinity since 2019, actually. Before that, I marched strike percussion in 2018. So I've been doing band for a really long time. But yeah, I had a great week, great season. Pretty much everything I could have asked for in an age out.
Wonderful. And Grantice?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Grantice. I'm a Winter Guard person. I've marched Blessed Sacrament, Onyx, Imbue, and Vanguard Winter Guard. But this year I was able to go with the Winds group, this classic A-class Winds group, and was able to watch all of you three perform, two people, and then also Rhythm X perform. And it was really cool to see it from a not really percussion background and just kind of see everyone's show. It was really awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be an interesting dynamic because it's all under the same broad organization, but there's such different things, different shows, different styles.
For sure.
Great.
Okay, so I'm going to pop back in. So we have some really smart, accomplished people here that were just doing great things in Dayton. So Laura, why don't we start with you? Why don't you? You've got some clips also. So Laura, tell us about what was your experience like? What was your weekend like?
So the organization as a whole, we just went through so many hardships this season. We lost close to 60 hours of rehearsal time because of COVID weather. We're on the East Coast, so it's been pretty hard. And we were going through the season with the mindset that we are just going to develop our show in the best way that we think that we can, personal growth, section growth, just supporting each other, lifting each other up, not really worrying about what everyone else is doing, just focusing on our personal growth and making an impact to the audience in front of us. And that ended up putting us with our highest placement and score that the organization has ever seen. And we were just absolutely ecstatic that we were able to come off of this long hiatus and just come back and make something that has made history in the organization. It was one of the best feelings that I've had with all the people around me, and the sense of camaraderie and everything was just absolutely wonderful. I'm going to segue into a clip that just showcases all of our excitement as we were walking into the tunnel for finals. There was a guy just standing there with a microphone and a camera, and we didn't know what he was doing, but he was just like, show us how excited you are. And that led us to all just, scream and go crazy in front of the camera. And it was actually by marching vlogs, and one of the people in our front ensemble edited all of the United clips into one another, and you can just see how excited we were. So it went around to like all these different groups, and everyone is just so pumped. I think that like getting out in those lots and like even getting into the finals 10, everyone was just ecstatic to like see all these people that they haven't seen in forever and just celebrate. Like everyone just threw down, everyone just threw down these awesome performances, and the excitement was unreal throughout the entire arena and the lots and everything.
Yeah, I think like everyone, both members and the audience that was out at WGI this week, we were all just like really ready to get back to band for real for the first time, at least to what felt like for me since the pandemic.
Yeah.
So like,
walking down that tunnel for finals, it was actually Infinity that was in front of us, like performing in front of us. So we got to hear a little bit of your show. And I remember hearing the wall, the sound of the applause, and like my jaw just dropped because of how loud it was, like everyone was just so excited. Zach, can you talk about that? Like how the applause and just the excitement during your show?
Yeah, I mean, well, nobody's been to WGI since 2019. So I had to like remind myself how it was because it's been so long. And, in the beginning of our show, we have like a quad feature, and everyone just went wild for that. And then to start off the full battery moment, like our first full battery moment, I played like a little 4-beat or 2-beat little solo thing. And even the crowd like cheered for that, which I wasn't even expecting. So it was kind of a weird combination of like, wow, this is awesome, but oh my God, I can't get distracted.
Yeah,
Like, you gotta listen for like cues and front ensemble stuff. So it was crazy, but it was like electric, honestly.
Yeah.
Speaking on that one, we actually had a kind of funny thing happen to us from a judging perspective where we were getting quite a lot of applause, so they couldn't really hear the music at certain parts anymore, and they weren't really able to give us a proper adjudication at times because they couldn't tell what was going on. There was the arena was just too loud,
And
which I
Grantese, like,
think is like a
sorry,
huge
go ahead.
compliment. Nah, that's all.
Yeah,
Just to say
that is an
I'm
amazing
proud of that.
compliment. Like that speaks for itself, just getting the crowd in front of you so hype. Grantese, how was it being in that crowd? Like you watched Independent World Finals. How was it?
It was great to see that the stadium was full. I was kind of half expecting there to be like a way less numbers, just because of people, not sure whether they should go to WGI finals or not, to be an audience member. But I was able to watch it from the UD flight deck, which is like on side 2, very high up. And it was a cool way to see because I got to see down, but from the side. And I thought like, oh, I'm from the side, I'm not going to really like enjoy it as much. But I enthusiastically watched all the performances that I could when we got there because we had to rehearse, and then we got there. I think we saw the last 6 performances. Then we started at POW, but oh no, the crowd loved it. They loved everything about it. They were so eager to see it. And of course, there's the lot culture of drum lines and crowds, just crowds of people. And I even checked it out for a little bit. But everybody was eager. Everybody loved to watch what they were watching on the floor.
Wonderful. Yeah, and can we move on? We're going to move on to Steven. He has a side view clip of the end of Rhythm X's show, and you can
Yeah,
just see the performance energy.
I think it's probably really close to where you were watching from, Grantis. If it's side 2 way up there, I think this is going to be a pretty similar view. But yeah, I'm excited. I think I mentioned maybe near the end of our show in the last finals week, they just told us, we want you to scream as loud as you can with your release for as long as you can. And we're just going to kind of all like submit to this emotional release. More than half the people out there were age outs for Rhythm X this year. So there was certainly like a lot of emotion wrapped up in it. And we all got to just kind of let it all out together. So I feel like this is a really cool clip. It means a lot to me, especially because this is me actually aging out right here in this 10-second clip. But yeah, let's check it out. I think it's really cool to see everyone just really give into the moment. I wish there was sound though. I guess I'll talk over it since we don't have sound. Oh yeah. But yeah, right there in that moment, we can kind of see everyone just really, really let go and really give back to the crowd what they're giving to us too.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool listening to like the judges' tapes where they were lowest. I think that might be the music judge. You can almost hear like a deafening scream come their way because I guess that's like 49 or 50 people all just like at the top of their lungs right at them anyway. So kind of peaked the mics a little bit. It was really cool.
Yeah. And Zach, did you have a similar experience in your show where it's like, this is it, this is my last opportunity to ever do this? Like, did that click when you were on the floor or coming off the floor?
I do actually. I wish I had a clip. But our show is all about like time, and we basically did a lot of stuff like forwards, and then we would do it backwards. And so the end of the show was basically like a reprise of the beginning of the show, kind of visually and musically. So I started the show with this little 2-beat solo thing, and then I ended the show with the same thing. It was just a little longer. And I remember a couple weekends before the end of the season, our battery coordinator, he came up to me and he was like, hey, instead of playing like the last 2 notes of the show that everyone else plays, I just want you to play a really loud dock shot, like on top of everyone else's ping shot. And you're just not going to play the last 2 notes. And I was like, okay, sweet. That sounds good to me. And I remember I go, I'm doing the thing. I'm looking right up to the box for the last little solo. And I just hit the gawk shot so loud, and it ended up being like the last clip of the recap video that they showed us in retreat.
I remember that.
And we all went bonkers. Like we all literally lost it when they showed that. I lost it. It was a really cool way to go out, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that moment down there at retreat when they're showing everyone's clips, and it doesn't matter how insignificant or quick your ensemble's clip was. Like if you see your people on the screen, everyone's yelling and jumping.
Yeah.
It's such a fun time out there.
Yeah, just like the support. I mean, I have nothing to compare it to. This was my first Dayton experience, but just having all the groups like come together and be in that moment. We can probably go to some clips of that retreat moment. Just everyone was just so excited together, no matter like where people placed, like it doesn't matter. Like we were all just there to give it our all. And I feel like we all really understood that once we got out there with each other. We just got to celebrate all of our achievements coming out of this big hiatus.
Yeah, and it's not really even just about like one person.
There it is.
So cool.
Your faces in there.
I love these so much.
Yeah, it is exciting. You just get to like do whatever, like all of like the jokes that build up throughout the season of each organization just unleash, I feel.
Yeah, and it's such just like an overwhelmingly positive experience too. Like I felt, at least for us, like by that point we had hit our note, we had our moment, and like sure, we still cared about the competitive thing that was going on here, but no one really cared that deeply. It's kind of just like, we're here to celebrate everyone's achievements. Whatever happens, but it's not going to change the season I had, the performance I did, or the way the audience interpreted it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of really wholesome out there that night.
Yeah.
I think that's really true just from not being a performer and just like watching you all do what you do. I say that's extremely true. Sometimes in Winter Guard, maybe I can only speak for myself, but it feels very hyper competitive. Like you really want to like advance your placements, but I felt like it was definitely more chill. Maybe it's because you all are drummers, but I was in the same hotel as United. You were all on my floor. And
Oh,
even
really?
just, yeah, I was like in that wing, the third floor, and just talking to some of you. Like I talked to Andy, I guess he's in the pit with you,
Yep.
with your group, and just talking to like just a bunch of you guys were all like really cool, and like you weren't like stressing out. You were just wanting to throw down what you could and what you did, and I was just like rooting for you, and I like barely had met you all, and that was just like a great experience. And even like as you're performing, coming in and out of the arena, like they were good vibes all around. That's all I
Yeah.
could really say.
Yeah, definitely one thing that our staff just kind of reassured us to like calm down. It's just like we're gonna go out there and we're just gonna do what we've been doing. We're not gonna change anything. The whole practice, how you perform, like in each rehearsal, you have to give it your all, and each rep has to be just a little bit more than the previous one. And then when you get out on the floor or in the lot, or there's people with cameras in front of you, there's people in your face in a lot, like you just don't do anything differently, and then you have some of the best performances of your life.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. A perspective that they kind of brought to us at X this year that I never had was that you need to be actively confronting the fact that your season is going to end for weeks in rehearsal during your reps. That way, when you get there finals night, it's not like a surprise and a shock that this is the last time you're going to do it. So then in some ways, like throughout the year, I was getting way more emotional in rehearsal because I was just thinking about the fact that this ends and this is an impermanent thing with a group of people that aren't going to spend forever together. But
Yeah,
then I think since they were so deliberate about making us approach it that way, we all got there and had like a very calm, level-headed energy when we got to finals night. Because I think all the shock was already kind of absorbed. We were just ready to go there and do our job.
Yeah. Zach,
Yeah.
do you have anything to add?
We had a pretty similar experience actually. Again, our show was literally about time, so it was like fitting that
You had to think about that at some point.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
like this is a impermanent activity, and the season doesn't last forever. And I just remember, we had a pretty rough start to our Dayton week. Actually, we're from Florida, we're from Orlando, and we take a bus up there. And so we're on the bus, and like it's pretty late at night. We left around 6:30 on Monday, and one of the staff members on the bus is like, "Hey guys, bad news! Driver got COVID, or like
Oh
the other
no.
drivers got COVID. We got to stop at a hotel in Atlanta tonight and just stay there." So we lost a full day of rehearsal on
Yeah.
Tuesday because we didn't get there fast enough. So I think the first time we were drumming like that week was Wednesday, the day before prelims, and I remember we really had to like. It took us a while to get the switch on, man. It really did, but by finals night, I hate to say it, but the finals week like magic, it's real in my opinion. I think it's totally real.
That little extra push right at the very end where you're all just together drumming for multiple days. It's not just a weekend. You have like multiple days where you're just cranking out my front ensemble would say that we have like a window in front of us and just getting this little smudge out here, this little smudge out here,
Yeah.
all the fine
We would make
tuning.
that same analogy all the time because you could say that like when you're looking at a dirty window, the dirt is not too apparent. When you're looking at it, when you start to really clean off the window and there's still like a smudge over here, that smudge becomes so much more apparent, and it's so much more important that everything is perfect then.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably like the same analogy that we use too.
I'm still in that analogy now. Thank you.
And so you said, Grantis, you were with a Scholastic A Winds group?
Yeah, and this is my first time. I was a choreographer, like a visual choreographer for the band, and then I also helped with the color guard.
So how did their final performances go?
Their final performances, which kind of funny about my group. So we're in Northern California, and there's no other Winds group in our area,
Wow.
and no competitions. So our first and last 2 competitions were WGI.
Wow.
Yeah, so we didn't get to. I mean, we performed for like friends and family,
Yeah.
but didn't do the whole like setup, go to a regional or anything like that. So these kids had to were preparing for months for these last 2 last 2 shows, and it was really extraordinary just to see like how well from the beginning of the season they weren't um, very experienced because 80, I would say like 80% of them were new. We had some 8th graders because the school can conduct themselves that way. And I would like, oh, you're in 8th grade, or you're in like the more I started to talk to more and more of the kids. It was very hard, a lot of challenges. Like a kid got sick, one of our TVs broke, and then we had to buy a new TV, and then the stand broke, and then like the TV turned on randomly as we were going down the tunnel or up the tunnel. Like there was a lot of challenges, but the kids really pulled through. And considering that they're all like, one girl just started playing her trumpet in January, like started learning how to play trumpet, like with all those challenges up in front of us, it was pretty remarkable what the kids could do.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm going to pop in to talk about that because, Zach, you talked about the issues that Infinity had just trying to get there. Ironically, I did a podcast very recently with John Campese, who's from Infinity, talking about how hard the season had been. And I think that's one of the things that's sort of a subplot of everything that we're all talking about is that, like, this was hard, you know, like we're back and we're excited, but there were challenges. Everybody find that podcast on the March Roundtable. He talks about, you know, they're getting ready to go to their big circuit championship. And then the rental company that he had made these rentals for all of their trucks and everything, like way back in the fall, he gets the notice, what, Zach, 2 days before that they were all canceled?
Oh, geez. I remember, look, I just remember going outside and I'm like, where's the other truck?
Where's our equipment?
Yeah, and they had to make it work. So it's so interesting. Like that even continued. Not only were people having, you know, people missing because of COVID, people, weather. There's all these like. Listen, everybody. Normally, just doing this, it's really hard. You know, like a normal drumline wins color guard season is really hard already. Getting everybody in the right place, having them actually show up and perform, it's kind of a miracle that this actually happens. And so this year was, I think, especially hard. And I think that those special challenges made it all the more sweet and made us all appreciate it all the more. So you guys are describing that sense of being at finals and in the camaraderie. Everybody had been through it together. We've all been through it together, right? The last couple of years. And now we're back together. We're performing. I think that explains a lot. And Grantees, to your point, even at the color guard weekend, as competitive as color guard can be, there was a lot of camaraderie in that. And especially like on Friday night at finals for Class A, like the crowd was so in love with every single performer and every single thing they did. And everybody sort of rallied to that. So do you guys want to speak to that? Like, I feel like people really appreciated it, what we'd all been through, and then what we all actually accomplished.
Yeah, I can give an example. Like, we had a lot of props. A lot of them were technical, like they included technology, and we had lights up along the back, and they were transmitted through radio signal, and everything worked in prelims, everything worked in semis, and then finals, the lights didn't work because there was interference in the radio signal, and we ended up scoring higher without them. You know, I think that it kind of takes away from like your eyes like on everything else, and just like I feel like everyone just performed harder because of like just this sense of just missing this activity. You know, everyone just wanted to show up and just throw down and give it their all. And like there were a fair share of like mishaps, trips, like props not working, like things breaking, you know, like all these things happening. But you know, it just makes everyone want to perform harder because of it. And I don't think that it really affected much, you know. I feel like people are more willing to just look past those silly little mistakes, you know.
Yeah, the audience is very forgiving, especially if we don't know your show. I mean, yeah, maybe one prop didn't turn on or something, but I actually didn't catch the lights not turning on, so could have fooled me.
Yeah. That was something that was a little nice about my show. I'm kind of used to having, especially from my time at United, some difficult props. Just to, candidly. but our props were fully analog and didn't involve electronics, which was actually really stress relieving by the end of the day. So I know that I can trust like this string right here is going to go down. I don't have to rely on radio frequencies or anything like that in this situation.
We had all, just wooden props at Infinity, but at our state championship show, the whole show, like the whole beginning is from electronics, like it's all samples. And we start like laying down, and we just do a bunch of like choreo and stuff, and at our state championship run, we're just laying there and nothing's starting. And
we had a similar experience.
Yeah.
And finally, we're like under this big clock prop, and the thing starts going. And from that point on, I was like, all right, we're in showtime, and there's no sound, and there's nothing. And it's probably one of the funniest and weird performances. I'm glad we did it at the state championship, because that would have really, really sucked in Dayton. But man, it's not like a fever dream just doing the entire beginning of the show with no sound.
Yeah.
Not like an 8-point penalty. It was rough.
Yeah,
I'm pretty familiar. You can go ahead, Lara. I'll talk after.
I was just going to say, like, our finals, it took, because the staff made the decision to turn off the lights so that they wouldn't go haywire during our show. So they had to take extra time to go and turn them all off. We end our performance, and our director's running down the stands, and he says we have 30 seconds to get off. So we all run as fast as we can, and we made it. I don't know how, but like,
is that Chad or Chuck?
Chad.
Okay.
And you can never, like, you just can never predict like anything like that to happen. And I remember someone from another group came up to us, and they were like, that was the fastest off I think I've ever seen. And I'm like, cool, that's a win for us.
Yeah, these sorts of like electronics failures at finals are all too common. I think maybe there's something to be said for there being so many people in there, and it's probably messing with whatever like frequencies you're used to transmitting through. But I could remember back in 2017, we had almost the same issue Zach was discussing, except it happened at finals, where we were all just kind of laying there waiting for our sample to kick off, and nothing happened forever. I think eventually they got it, but we did get a timing penalty at finals. And then to go all the way back, I guess, about a decade now, to the first time I ever did WGI. My high school was pretty good when I first got there. We ended up winning Percussion Scholastic Open. But when we got to finals, our show, just like what we've been talking about, started off with samples, and nothing was coming through. And eventually our drum set player, just calm, cool, collected, just picked up where the music was going to pick in, and we just went from there. I feel like about 2.5 minutes into the show, our electronics came in at a very pivotal moment where the show would not have made much more sense if you didn't get the narration from like that point. We really needed it. But it showed up when it needed to. We were able to still have a good performance. It's probably like you were saying, Grantis, where like judges, the audience, they don't want to like knock you for electronics failures. They want to see you do your show. So I don't think people are really out there like, your lights in the back didn't work, I can't enjoy your program anymore. Like, we all want it to be great.
Someone said about the lot, just to piggyback off of that, is like people are going to the lot to watch really good drums. They're not going to the lot to call out takes, you know? So there's no like, that really sat with me, like, especially in my early days, because I was like, that's right. Like, this is not something to be scared of. This is something to like have fun, because everyone just wants to have fun here.
Exactly.
That's why I think the WGI lots are the best. They're just they're a little belligerent at times. They're really fun. People get really into it.
They're great.
Yeah, it's very hype.
Hey, I'm going to pop in and say one thing. It's like I saw a comment on Facebook this week where somebody was like, I don't understand why the drum lines don't stand there all the way through the applause before they exit. And I'm like, and people are like, hey, they've got to get off.
We got a lot of stuff to get off.
I think it's quite miraculous that any drum line can ever get on and off the floor, without having to call an ambulance or something. Like, it's just so ridiculous how that all happens so fast. It's absolutely amazing.
There's just so much statistics.
I want to ask Stephen, you just said that the props were analog. Like, I wanted the beginning of the show, the screens, like the walls go up and you see the performance.
Yeah.
How does that work? I didn't see anybody doing this.
Right.
So can
You
you
would
can you
see
let us go behind the curtain?
you would see one of the most chaotic scenes you've ever seen on the WGI floor if you could see the backwards perspective. I actually was hoping I could find a nice video to share with you guys here tonight. But basically back there, you'd have anytime a prop was opening or a prop was getting used, there was someone behind it who was operating it because there was nothing electronic about them. So they had basically just strings on the back that you would be able to pull to bring up the curtain, bring down the curtain. And then inside we had hooks that we were able to use to keep the paintings up if the painting was supposed to be up, or you would pull the curtain down and there would be like a member performing, or you could use it to get on or off the floor. We would typically look at like this show that we put together as having an element of like a theater production where members are on stage at times and other members are off stage at times, which was kind of like a smart design choice because then we didn't all need necessarily to clean like 6.5 minutes of show. We're able to focus on kind of like the 3.5 to 4 minutes that was really important for each individual performer. But you didn't have to worry about like going and cleaning this visual moment that the basses are involved in during the snare feature or something like that. Because in reality, like the basses are backstage during the snare feature,
Yeah,
and
that's smart.
they can't be properly adjudicated by design at that moment. So they were super cool. They were really cool props. They were able to be moved too, so you could use it to create like different staging environments. I feel like across the board, they were just super unique and they really allowed us to do a lot of cool things.
We were setting up for our lot and I saw the Rhythm X truck and then I saw like 4 more box trucks come in after it.
I think one of the nicest moments of the season, and like bless our admin, was when they told us that we've been doing well enough that they were going to be able to rent box trucks for us so that we wouldn't have to collapse these props at every show. Because
Nice.
typically we had just one box truck and we would have to collapse these things basically fully down into like their parts, which was so time consuming, and you have to do
Yeah,
it
we had a
outside
similar
and it's
thing too.
Ohio, so it's cold and you're just touching metal and everything about it was pretty terrible until like maybe like 4 or 5 weeks left in the season by like maybe the Dayton regional. They're like, hey guys, we're going to just make this way easier for you. You can just push all the props right onto the truck, no breaking them down. We'll just have this enormous just group of vehicles moving with Rhythm X, but it was so worth it. One thing I wanted to touch on too with getting off the floor was like there was so much logistics that we had to figure out to move those 18 props off the floor in time. We got a pretty decent timing penalty at prelims just trying to get them off of there and on there in time. It kind of forced us to figure out a really, really concrete logistics procedure. We even like cut off some trim edges from our floor so that there would be less things that could kind of get in the way.
There we go.
To what you were saying about why don't the members just sit around for all of the applause they receive. After we got done on semifinals, they told us, they're like, hey guys, you did such a good job with the logistics here that you have a whole extra minute. So here's what we're going to do the logistics even better, and then just sit in it for a long time when the show ends. Just make the audience stand there and keep applauding for as long as they'll do it. And like, I thought it turned out to be a pretty cool effect because they did. We didn't stand up and everyone just kept cheering. So
yeah,
I really liked it. It was nice for me.
awesome. And Grantis, how was it like logistic wise with wins? You know, did you have a lot of people to help out? Did you have a lot of props? Did you have a front ensemble? Was there anything like that?
We had like every prop that you could have in a winter show. I felt like we had TVs, we had a big old ramp, we had a floor, we had these like round cookie things, we had like lights and like all the color guard equipment and the band changing uniform and like stuff. So it was a lot. So I can understand, but when you have a system in place to get what you need to get out, it helps a lot. We even had like a pre-show and an after show. And that actually cost us a timing penalty, which was pretty bad. It's okay. Like, you know, when all said and done, you know, it is what it is. And we got through it. And we actually didn't have too many parents there. It was all student led, which was good because we had a good amount of students because it's wins. You usually have a little bit more people on the floor at times. And it was just, you know, it's hard. You just got to plan it out and figure out what the best thing to do, and the kids had never taken the floor up the ramp. And we're like, hey, it's steep. And then they didn't realize it until they were taking up the floor. They were like, oh, that was the hardest part of my season, was taking up the floor. I was like, well, yep, that's what it is. Welcome to WGI.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that was their first experience out there.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Most of them. Hey, we have a clip from the Winds group, Grantis. Do you want to set this up, or should I just show it?
I'll go ahead and show it. This is us just practicing in the parking lot. We're doing some movement because we have the guard, and you know, even the ensemble is in here, you know, working with us and just doing some morning warm-ups. But that was just them, and you know, getting used to it. And they had to wake up super early, like 5 a.m., like almost 3 times in a row, and very early from coming California time and then coming to the Midwest. You know, it's an adjustment. You're lucky if you practice and rehearse in Dayton, Ohio. So good for you.
Yeah, definitely. That's a lot to ask for high schoolers, especially. I was just sitting there because we had a few early wake up times too, and I was just thinking, like, there's an age out for a reason. My body is mad. Like,
your hips.
It's a hard agree with you on that one, Lara.
Yeah, it takes a toll.
Okay, so let's talk about that for just a second, because I've had this conversation a couple times in interviews I've been doing over this winter season, because there were 2 years without being able to perform. There were a lot of performers who aged out this past year, right? There were 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds in there. And one of the points everybody was making was, well, you know, it's going to be interesting next season because so many of these drum lines are going to be like without a huge swath of their members. It's going to be very interesting next year. But like Stephen or Zach or Laura, any of you guys want to talk about what it was like to have so many veterans also maybe in their last show?
Yeah, I would be happy to talk about that. I'm sure we all would be, but I know my experience was one of just being like incredibly humbled by the talent around me. And also like just super impressed by how mature the ensemble was able to be at a ton of different times. I think it's a testament to the fact that we've all just grown a lot since the last time that we tried to do band. So to me, it's kind of like a lot of the best members I've ever played with from a musical perspective, but a lot of some of just the best people that have been around just holistically.
Yeah, Zach?
It's funny. At Infinity, we didn't have a single rookie member on the snare line at all.
Wow.
Everyone had done a season or has been involved with Infinity in some way, shape, or form. However, in the battery, I was the only person who's been to world-class Dayton like finals. I was the only one in the entire battery. Yeah, it was a weird dichotomy having like technically an all vet snare line, yet technically everyone was not as experienced. It was really weird, but everyone handled it really well. This was like probably the most mature and you know, hungry kind of line I've ever been on. Everyone was just so excited to get out there, and when we finally did, it kind of felt like, you know, it felt like a really long 3 years kind of culminated in
all
that.
build up like for this moment.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience where like our first like audition camp, a few of us came back and then most of the people were new, but like you said, like some of them had done UP2, some of them were in like local drum corps and stuff that, you know, the same staff had taught before. And we show up to the first camp and then we just call some people up and we're like, hey, you want to just like show up next week? And we ended up getting some vets from like 2018, 2019. Like they just showed up and they're like, all right, time to go. Like, and at some point later on in the season, we all just like looked around at each other and we're like, you kind of just realize the group of people that you're standing with and the potential that is there. Mainly because of like age, experience, you know, that sort of stuff. Like we all know how this goes. We all know what to do. We all know how to listen, how to play, how to blend. And we were just like, all right, let's just be good. Let's just work at it. Let's just give it our all. And we had no idea how far that would have taken us. But you know, what in that moment when we were finally able to just like showcase it all, it was just such a great feeling. Definitely sad because for most of us it was our last opportunity to do so. But we know, like, from the UP2 group and from there is a pretty decent amount of people who didn't age out too, and we're just like, they have it set up for next year. Yesterday the United 2023 interest page popped up on Facebook. I was like, oh, I wish I could join. Oh, how I wish I could join.
Yeah, speaking on like member experience, I'm so happy I got to be a part of RXB this winter because I think it was really, really unique. We had the average age of RXB was 23 years old, which
Yeah.
should not be possible. We all 6 of us were age outs. All 6 of us have been doing this for a decade each. So that meant that in RXB there was about 60 years of bass drumming experience.
Yeah, that's
Which
incredible.
is, yeah, just actually pretty unreal.
Yeah. Should be impossible.
It literally should not be possible. You shouldn't be able to have that old of a bass line. There was only one other time in Rhythm X history even that they had an all age out bass line. That was in 2011, which is what a lot of Rhythm X alum, a lot of fans consider to be like one of their best bass drum years ever.
Yeah.
So felt
That's
like I got to have like a very special experience there in that regard too, and just be a part of a really unique group of guys playing bass drum together.
Yeah, the bar for every group probably just like raised a little bit higher, you know, just because there are a lot of people there that honestly shouldn't have been, but it was great because we just got to like do what we knew how to do best, you know, and the directors and the designers knew how capable these ensembles were, and they just were able to hit the ground running with their ideas. So it was incredible to see.
Something that I loved, and I would be interested to hear like what your finals mornings were like, Lara and Zach, but like RXB in particular, but Rhythm X as a whole really actually stayed working really hard through the finals because we felt like we were clawing and itching at like what the show deserved or what we thought we could get out of the show the last day. I thought that, like, for me, even personally, I was proud that I found myself improving as a drummer on the last day that I would ever do it. I felt like that was like an attention to just being willing to work that I was proud of myself, but also the rest of my ensemble for putting forth that amount of effort. What was your finals morning like?
Kind of along the same lines. Our director Chad just kind of, it's just gonna do this all the way until the end, and it doesn't need to be. Oh, it's the percussion.
My goodness. My drum head starts Chad's name, and they're like, "Nope, I'm getting away from here."
It doesn't need to be this, like, to finals, it doesn't need to be this exponential curve, you know? It just needs to be a little bit more, and that little bit of effort can push you that much farther. But yeah, like we were still just like getting better until the very last day. Was it similar for you, Zach?
Yeah. Finals day was certainly the longest feeling day. We we just like, prelims we went in and we kind of had like a safe kind of run, but our confidence was pretty high going into semis. And then semis we went in and the run wasn't as strong. So by finals we were like, okay, we need to like lock this in. We need to like, cause again, we had so many age outs throughout the entire battery, and it was like, we just have to. It wasn't like a lot of pressure on us. It was more like, and I told the snare line this, I said, at this point, it is what it is. Like, if there's ticks, there's going to be ticks. But let's just go all out. Let's just really do what we know how to do, because that's all we can do. So it was like a really nice, calm intensity we had going into the night. And yeah, it was just awesome.
Yeah. And it's weird because, like, we're so almost pressed for time in this activity. We know that there's an end. Grantis, I mean, you can just go back.
I could, but no. And you could all do Winter Guard, but yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, is the dynamic kind of different just knowing that you can always go back, within groups? How does that kind of feel within like the culture and everything?
I can kind of equate this to, if you do drum corps, there's an age out. for DCI. And of course, you could do DCA, but some people firmly have that age out for DCI, like I've done.
Yeah,
And
that
for Winter
personal.
Guard, there's not like I know somebody in Onyx from Dayton, Ohio. Like he's been marching for years, and he loves to do it, Jamal, and he's great at it. And it's this thing that you could always go home. Like I've marched a few different places. Like I would love to march certain groups, but it's to the point where did you succeed where you wanted to succeed? Did you finish that? If the answer is yes, then you could be done and be an instructor or be an adjudicator or be someone that gives private lessons or just encourages other people to join this awesome activity. But yeah, it's nice to know that there is an ending point, and if there's not, then you could always go back if you want.
Yeah, that's how I feel about DCA. I'm like, I always could.
Yeah, I could.
I need
Or an
a little
alumni
bit of a
corps.
break right now, but
So I want to ask you guys, sort of as we're starting to wrap this up, Stephen and Laura and Zach, you all aged out. Like, what are your plans for? Are you done with drumming? Are you going to be an instructor, or do you want to start your own drum line? Are we going to see you? Like, what's your thoughts?
I guess I'll go first. I just got a music education degree back in December. So I'm just going to start off with teaching elementary band because I absolutely love it. I love the little ones. I just would love to spend time with them during the day. And then my ideal situation would to be like to have that fun, lighthearted, like awesome atmosphere during the day, during the week, my 9 to 5. And then on the weekends, I could just go teach band or drum corps or something, It was great because when my season ended with United, I was able to be a leader within the front ensemble, and just so I kind of got a taste of what it's like to lead logistics and to lead, like subsectionals, stuff like that. So I feel prepared to educate other people in this field, whether that is in one of my home organizations or another organization. Who knows? But I would love to get involved with high school drum lines and everything. We'll just see where the wind takes me at this point.
Yeah. For me, I think it's a little across the board. To some extent, I don't really know exactly what it is I want to do at this point. I do have like some work stuff that's outside of band and music altogether that now that I'm aged out, I think it's about time that I focus a little bit more of my effort and attention towards. But outside of that, as far as this stuff goes, which is still obviously my passion, I see myself teaching bass drum. I would love to bring these guys, these trigs, to a lot more different ensembles. You're gonna see United using these, maybe the Bushwhackers using these. But
Yeah, are you teaching Bush this summer?
Yeah, I'll be back
Great.
at Bush this summer.
Cool.
And then I'm not really sure where I'll be teaching in the winter next winter, but I look forward to getting around. Also look forward to spending some more time exploring music outside of the marching space. And throughout the pandemic, I got further into like using Logic, producing just real, well, not real. There's nothing that's unreal about the music that we make, but music that's not contained and limited to just marching band, drumline, and that whole pageantry side of things. So
yeah,
that's sort of where I see myself going.
Great.
Well, just aging out a couple days ago, obviously I'm also in the same kind of like, I don't really know boat. I graduate college soon. My degree isn't in music or anything. So, I would like to focus on like the real life stuff, kind of like Steven said, but I know I can't leave the activity. It's been a part of my life for 8 years, the better part of 8 years. So I'm always going to I'm going to feel like I need to be involved. So, I would love to get more into teaching. I teach like a local high school in Orlando. But, I'd love to give back to the Infinity organization if they would have me. I think that would be awesome. And just, really, really kind of building a stronger culture of the marching arts here in Florida. It's not like, California that has a million groups doing it. And it's a lot more on the backside here. But I'd really I'd really want to be a part of help building that culture and proliferizing it. I don't know if I said that right, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And Grantis, so you said that you choreograph specifically, and you choreograph for color guard. So what are other options other than just teaching color guard? You know, you got involved with this indoor winds group. What are some other opportunities that you think you can take with that knowledge?
Well, for sure, I just started to, not just started to, but I've been adjudicating. I've judged for this winter. I actually judged percussion because it's visual and is
Yeah.
able to do that. So bring kind of like my lens according to the sheets and give some good feedback and some good commentary to groups to kind of elevate them. And I love doing that. I love helping groups. You know, throwing something on YouTube for people to learn, like, does anybody know how to, you know, tape a pole, or, you know, how to do this particular toss.
That's good for like band directors, you know, because I have never had any color guard experience, but if I have a marching band in front of me, I need to know how to teach them, you know?
Yeah, and so many things can be learned now. Like there's so many, like, now there's an educational series that people are going to have. People are going to make content for people to learn. And you know what? For those kids that are in an area that might not have a very strong community, whether it be percussion, you know, band or color guard, you know, them seeing what you can do might inspire them, or they can bring it to their program and be like, oh, I want to do this. And it just elevates the activity every
Yeah.
year. So the performances that you done, kids are going to watch on YouTube or flow marching or whatever. They're going to aspire to be that, and then they're just going to be want to be just as good, or you know, they might even be better.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're wrapping this up, we have a couple more clips from the celebration at the end of the night. So let's just play a couple of these because they're really fun and it gives everybody a sense of how happy everybody was and how joyful it was there in Dayton.
RXB! Let's fucking go!
All right, so
Notice that they're trying to catch the confetti in their hats. It's funny.
So anyway, what a spectacular experience it was. I appreciate how honest and forthcoming you all were with your experiences and your emotions, and telling us, taking us behind the scenes for being there as a performer and how much it meant to you. I want to say congratulations to all of you for such great careers, for being such amazing groups. I mean, the level of the performances on Saturday night was just unprecedented. And part of it was because we had people with so much experience. All the marching members had so many extra years, but I also just think everybody was really ready to make it happen. And it was very, very exciting. I'm going to go around, just everybody say one final thought you want to leave the audience with. It could just be one word. It could be one sentence, couple sentences. Grantis, what would you want to say to anybody who's watching this as we're finishing?
I want to say that if you've never experienced winter percussion, and of course winter winds, but winter percussion for this wrap-up, you should. I used to think like, oh, you know, I have to go watch a percussion. This is like years ago. I have to watch a percussion group. It's going to be very loud, and the shows are just, you know, might be really deep, and it's going to go this one secular way. But after watching World Finals, I was astounded. I didn't know drummers could move that well. I didn't know the shows could be that entertaining. I was thoroughly entertained throughout the night, and I would watch it again, especially since I watched it from the side. I will go back and rewatch some of the shows that I watched on Saturday because I want to see things that I didn't get to pick up the first time. So great job! I loved watching winter percussion. It was great.
That's awesome. How about you, Zach? Final thoughts.
I mean, I don't really have much to say other than like, I'm just glad I had such a good age out. You know, seeing all my friends up in Ohio was awesome. Like I said, I'm in Florida. It's a little isolated from the rest of the community in the country, but you know, being able to go up there, I have so many friends in places like X and GMU because I marched Crown and United. I even have friends up in there. It was just awesome to see everybody and connect, and the community is just so tightly knit. It's like everyone somehow knows everyone it's just so cool. I couldn't even ask for a better experience.
Very cool. How about you, Stephen? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I just think that I was happy I could put a bow on my marching experience in a perfect way. For me, Rhythm X was the group that really got me to love this activity when I was a freshman back in high school. So to come back and get to be a part of that in such a serious way was really deeply fulfilling, and I just love all the people I got to do it with. So really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Lara, you're going to get the final word. What would you like to say?
As like a future educator, just use this activity to keep inspiring the people on the other end of you and to support the people who are doing the same thing as you. Such amazing things can happen if we just like build each other up, organization to organization, even just within the organization itself. And like we just all overcame something tremendous. And think about like the evolution of this activity and just where it can go and how great the culture can be if we all just commit to that.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you for taking time to share your stories and be a part of this conversation tonight. Lara, Steven, Zach, Grantice, you all were wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
Yeah,
having
thank you
us
for
on.
having us.
Absolutely. And thanks, Jeremy Williams, of course, and Guard Closet for making this conversation happen. And all of us at Marching Roundtable and Marching Arts Education appreciate it too. Great job, everybody. Thanks so much.